What's up, everybody? This is part 2 of the Resident Evil series. If you haven't seen part 1 already, I highly recommend you do so. Or don't, whatever you want, man. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about
Resident Evil.
Let me just start by saying that this is the game. What I mean by that is, if you're coming hot off a Resident Evil 2 remake, this is the game you want to play next. Some of you might be sitting here thinking, oh, I want to know more about Leon. I'm going to play Resident Evil 4 next. Cut that shit out. Play the Resident Evil 1 remake next. You'll thank me later. In this game, you play as Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield, aka the best characters in the series. Go ahead and tell me that Chris Redfield isn't the coolest male character in the series, so I can go ahead and tell you you're a fucking liar. As for Jill Valentine, let's very quickly do a top 10 badass woman list. You got Sarah Connor, you got Ellen Ripley, Brienne of Tarth, that woman with the spear from Black Panther, and Jill Valentine. Case closed. Moving on, this game also features everybody's favorite dad, Barry Burton, Rebecca Chambers, who's very different from how she was in Resident Evil 0, and Mr. Cool Guy himself, Albert Wesker. After checking out the Bravo Team helicopter crash site and being attacked by zombie dogs, you'll make your way to the Spencer Mansion.
Make for that mansion!
After you get inside, you'll realize that the character you didn't pick to play as has mysteriously vanished. You hear a gunshot echo throughout the mansion, and this kicks off the investigation and leads you into the series of events that take place in this game. As for gameplay, you're looking at pretty much the same thing as Resident Evil 0. Tank controls, fixed camera angles, and limited aiming. And that's perfectly fine in my opinion. Before we continue, let me hit you with a fun fact. If you look in the lower left corner of the screen, you'll notice that the date says July 24th. July 24th is actually my birthday. The STARS Alpha team actually goes through all this horrendous shit on my birthday. As if I needed any more of a reason to love this game. So let's get to the real question here. Why is this game so good? For about 90% of this game, you're dealing with very narrow hallways and tight, cramped rooms. Because of this, it makes it very difficult to avoid zombies and other types of monsters when you're trying to conserve ammo. It forces you to think about which paths you're going to walk down more often, and if you should take out the enemies on that path to make your return trips easier. What I like most about this is, even after years of playing this game over and over again, I still run down zombie-filled hallways with my butthole puckered all the way up because of how they lunge at you for getting so close. Another thing to note is the overall way this game sets the mood. Different parts of the mansion have different music that play in the background. Towards the beginning of the game, you'll hear a lot of ominous, haunting music. For example, but later in the game, you'll hear something like this. I don't know why, but this track always made me feel like Chris and Jill were losing their minds after dealing with the horrors in that puzzle of a mansion. Another thing that helps set the mood are random lightning strikes that will illuminate a room that you're standing in. I guess thunderstorms and scary games are just a perfect combination. Some of the sounds you'll hear in this game are just fantastic. For example, you can walk into a new room and hear a zombie groaning off screen, or a hunter's menacing growl, or the clicking of zombie dog feet as they slowly approach you. But my favorite sound in this game is actually just the sound of your character's footsteps as they walk across different kinds of floors and staircases. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know why that's my favorite sound in the game, it just is. Just like several other Resident Evil games, this one has you looking for key items and solving puzzles to open up more of the map you're in. This game does a great job of giving you all the information you need to solve a puzzle and letting you know exactly where to use a key item in order to progress. One of my favorite puzzles is in the beginning of the game. Once you get the first key to start unlocking doors in the mansion, you'll open up a book that tells you about 4 death masks. And you'll instantly know that your main goal right now is to find these 4 masks and bring them back to this room. One of the best things about the Resident Evil 1 remake is that it's actually a remake. There are some similarities between this remake and the original Resident Evil, but there are actually an enormous amount of differences and changes between the two, including new puzzles and new areas to explore. The visuals in this remake are amazing, and I would argue this was the best looking game even when it first came out on the GameCube. Other things that are new to the remake include a chained up failed experiment of a monster called Lisa Trevor, and let me tell you, this is one creepy monster. If you kill a zombie and don't blow its head off in the process, you'll notice that when you leave the room and come back in, they'll still be on the floor waiting for you. That's because you need to go and get your fuel canteen and your lighter and burn them. And if you don't, they'll come back after a little while as Crimson Heads, which are stronger and faster than regular zombies. You have defense items you can use in order to avoid damage when you're grabbed by a zombie or other monster. These include daggers, tasers, and grenades. One of my favorite changes in the remake is seeing the original Tyrant in these updated graphics. He may not be as tough as Mr. X or Nemesis, but I still think he's the best. So I realize I can't sit here and tell you all these great things about this game and not have anything to say about things I didn't like. But honestly, I really don't have that many problems with this game. I guess there's a decent amount of moments where you have to go around and push things like statues and wooden crates, and that can get pretty annoying and completely stop your momentum. My other problem is with Rebecca Chambers. In this game, she only shows up when you're playing as Chris, and she constantly needs him to save her. Which kind of makes sense, she is a rookie after all. And the game kind of portrays her as somebody who doesn't really know what's going on. But after seeing the events of Resident Evil 0 that she went through and seeing how well she can take care of herself, this doesn't really make sense. Why doesn't she tell Chris about Billy and the fact that she fought all these monsters the night before? The problem is that the Resident Evil 1 remake was made before Resident Evil 0. And unless they remake Resident Evil 1 again, this is going to be a permanent plot hole in the story. So now we come to the big question again. Is this a good Resident Evil game? The answer is absolutely. This is the Resident Evil game. This is survival horror at its best. There's no point in this game where it feels like the story is just dragging on or you're stuck in some room. It's a fun, scary video game. What more could you want? I would give the Resident Evil 1 remake a 10 out of 10. Now go fucking play this game.